Okay. Say your name for me.
Leroy James.
All right. When I show you this, I want you to tell me what comes to mind. Go.
Picking cotton when I was a young boy in high school. My mother had us picking cotton, and I got so very tired of picking cotton till one day I didn't want to pick anymore, so I started praying, asking God to send down the rain so we wouldn't have to pick cotton for a few days. And the more I prayed, the cloudier it got. After a while, it started raining, and we had to go home. I went to school for the next couple of days. I was so happy.
Now tell me about school. What was school like then? Would you say your educational experience is anything close to what the kids go through now?
I think it was better. We didn't have as large a classes then as we did now, as we do now. We had around about 15 or 16 students in the classroom, and it was very good. The teacher gave us some good attention, and we were able to respond as we were wanted to respond. I enjoyed it. The day I went back to class after having not had to pick cotton the next day, the teacher called the roll, and she didn't call my name. And she said, "Did I miss anybody's name?" And I raised my hand. She didn't call my name. She said, "What is your name?" He said, "My name is Leroy James." She said, "I don't scratch you off. You haven't been to school in several weeks." I said, "I had picked cotton. I'm back today." So she put me back on the roll.
Was that the norm of the day? Kids could be taken out of school to work for the family?
I don't think a lot of parents did what my mother did, but my mother did it to us every year. We had to stay out of school about 3 or 4 weeks.
What do you think about it now looking back on
I think it was terrible because you shouldn't stay out of school that long. You miss a lot.
it? Did it have a negative impact on your family?
No, it had a negative impact on me, but not the family. My mother didn't. She wasn't angry about it. We had to go pick cotton because what she did with the cotton picking money was help pay our school stuff. We had to pay for school and help buy school books and everything. So she did it for a reason. Because my dad wasn't making enough money to pay all of it by himself.
Do you think there were ever any conversations about um, her taking on that responsibility? Bringing home the money, I guess, in that day was a man's responsibility, right?
No, it had never been discussed for us, before us. I never know it. But I know Dad, he wasn't angry that she was doing it. It was okay with him because it was helping him out.
How would you describe your childhood?
I had a good childhood, but I had a very strict mother. She kept us working all day. When we didn't pick cotton, we had to work. When cotton picking season was over, we had to go in that garden and dig potatoes, pick vegetables, peel peas, went fishing and come back to clean the fish, and just busy all the day long. And it really worked us, and I didn't like it, but I had to do it.
Do you think it had a positive influence on your life or a negative influence?
Overall, I think it was a positive one because the things I went through, I was able to continue to go through things that I didn't necessarily like, but I went through it anyway because of what I've already been through.
What would you describe as the happiest day of your life?
This is funny. I would say when didn't have to pick cotton anymore. I loved going to school, but I couldn't stand picking that cotton. I mean, it was awesome, terrible,
Well, tell me about it. What made it so bad?
because we had to pick a certain amount. And we didn't pick that certain amount, we got tore up on the floor with a switch when we got home. I remember my brother, my second oldest brother, had to pick 100 pounds. And when the man weighed his cotton weighed at 95 pounds. And Mama told him to get your stick. The man said, "What he needs a stick for?" See,
Okay, you were talking about he had to pick 100 pounds of cotton.
right. So Mama told him to get a stick. So the man said, "Well, I give him 5 pounds." But she said, "He didn't pick it. You gave it to him." So my mama got home. She told Robert up because he didn't pick 100 pounds. He only picked 95. and she beat him. So when we didn't do what we were supposed to do, we got tore up from the floor up.
Well, how do you get 100 pounds? Look at that cotton. Roll that cotton up again. It's soft. It's fluffy. How do you?
You
Show
had
me
to
how
pick
would
so
pick
much,
the
you had to
cotton.
stuff it down in your bag so it could weigh something. Had to pick many, many bags full a day, and we had to weigh it at the end of the day.
All right. Why is that so hard? Pick the cotton off of that stock and tell me why that's hard. Explain to Jaden and Grant and Nia and
Well, you
Jennifer.
could be sticking your hand on this sharp thing while you're trying to pull it out there. That would hurt you.
Okay.
And then when you pick your bag full, you had to go down the row and dump it in a sheet where the cotton would stay. It was just hard.
How would you know? You didn't have any scales, so how would you know if you had 100 pounds of cotton?
We didn't know because she knew you had to pick so much because she could tell whether you had 100 pound or not, how much you had in the sheet. She could pick 200 pounds, and you only got to pay $3 for 100 pounds.
Say what?
$3 for 100 pounds. That's all you got to pay for picking cotton then.
So you guys could pick cotton in the sun all day long and get how much?
$3 for 100 pounds.
She could pick 200.
Mm-hmm.
The kids, what, 100 apiece?
Yeah.
So that's how much? All three of y'all, four of y'all?
My oldest one had to pick about 150, and Robert 100, and me and my sister had to pick 100 together.
So y'all got, how much you think y'all got at the end of the day?
About $8 to $10. That's all day long.
That's like slavery.
It is. It was. I thought it was slavery. Oh boy! And I told my wife, I'm glad my kids better be glad they didn't grow up like I did. 'Cause they would have had to pick a lot of cotton too.
So fast forward to this day and time, and some of the injustices maybe that you experienced growing up. How would you say things are different?
Things are different because now financially, the jobs you have are paid more money, and you're able to do things in a nice way without having to go through a lot of hard working like we did. Because we have to learn how to save your money, and don't spend all of it.
With the recent election, Barack Obama was elected to his second term as President of the United States. We have seen a display of racism and hatred and bigotry. Would you say that the racial climate has changed in the years since you've been around, or it's remained the same?
It has changed. I think it's gotten better. But now when I see things happening the way it is now, I think it's getting worse. Because people are really they're coming out saying what they want to say now, worse than they ever did before. We knew there was slavery, but we didn't say anything. But now that we can speak up, everybody speak up now. They'll tell you whether they don't like you or not, and they won't have any downfalls about it.
So is that better or worse?
That's worse. We're different races, but I don't think we are liked as much as others are liked. Because they were taught when they were coming up that they were better. But now, black folk are just as smart as white folk. Sometimes, in some cases, they're smarter.
What message would you give your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids about life? What advice would you give?
To learn how to take good advice and listen to your parents if you love them, and your grandparents, do what they ask you to do. And if people try to get you not to believe them, don't pay them any attention. Pay attention to people who got you going, and who keeps you going, and you'll do all right.
All right. Name something that, since you've been an adult, you believed to be true, that now that you're older, you don't think it's true anymore.
You might have to ask that again in another way.
When, let's say, since you've been 20 years old, maybe there was something you knew in your heart to be true, but the older you get, you're finding that, well, maybe it's not.
Well, I can't think of anything right now. I know we had to study hard, Now I think we have to study harder because education is getting more complicated as we go on.
Do you see? All right, you talked about what the most, the best day of your life was. Describe to me the worst day of your life.
Picking cotton when I was young, but when I got older, old enough to get a job and go to work, I didn't have to pick cotton anymore, and those were the better days of my life.
So your best and worst days of your life revolve around
All
picking
around
cotton.
picking cotton. That's right. Uh,
What's your earliest childhood memory?
in what way?
The first thing you remember, you, the first thought. If you when you think about your youngest, the youngest thought you can remember.
Well, I was very young. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old, maybe 7. My dad worked at the railroad, so he brought pigeons home because he loved to see pigeons. So he picked the pigeon up and brought him to the house and put him in the backyard where the chickens were. And so when I would go out there in the backyard, I see the pigeon. They were so friendly. And I just started playing with the pigeon. And one day I had me a bucket in my hand that my mama had in the backyard. And so I believe in going to church. We believe in baptism. And so I got me that bucket, and I told that pigeon I was going to baptize him. And I went and put some water in the bucket. I told that pigeon, I'm going to baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and in the hole you go. And I took him down in the hole, and I brought him back up. He said, I said, you did pretty good. So I said, you got to go and stay longer this time. So I took him down the second time. It kept him a little bit long. He got up and he said, I said, you're still doing pretty good. One more time, a little bit longer. So I told him the third time. He said, I let him fly away. He flew away. He couldn't come to me anymore. He was tired of me. And that's something, I was a young guy, but to me, that was humorous to me. And I did it. And another thing I did one day, my mother and my sister came out the house, had my 2 oldest brothers washing clothes in the tub. And she took my sister in the garden to pick vegetables with her, and I ain't had nothing to do. And so we had a pump in the backyard there where we pump water. And so my brothers were washing clothes with Opticum soap. And so I went over there and got a little small bar of soap from them. And for whatever reason I did that, I have no idea. I went and stuffed that Opticum soap down the pump. Just stuff it down there. And I started playing, writing on the ground, playing. I had nothing else to do. And when my mother got through picking the vegetables, she came out the garden. She said, I think I want me a cool drink of water from that pump. I said, oh, God, Jesus. And to get water from that pump, she had to pour water in there to cause the water to come out the pump. And when she started doing that, all that suds and soap come forming out that pump. Ooh, Leroy, did you put that soap in the pump? No, Mama, I didn't do it. I lied. My mother asked my brother, did they do it? Mom, we didn't do it. And she know my sister didn't do it. She was out in the garden with her. Now, Leroy, didn't you do it? Yeah, my mom did it. Sorry. She tore me up. Tore up from the floor up. So, see, that's the kind of person I was. When I didn't have nothing to do, no direction, I just did whatever came to my mind. And another day, he had some chickens in the backyard. They loved to lay eggs. And I saw a chicken there just squatting down. And nothing wouldn't come out. So I went behind it. Get out of here. And she flopped that egg flopped. When the egg first come out the chicken, it's so sticky. I never knew that until I picked that egg up. It was so sticky, so I put it back down. Before those shells get hard, the egg is sticky, real sticky. So those are the kind of things I did.
How would you describe your family? Poor, moderate, or wealthy?
I think they were moderate from my perception, but because we got whatever we needed. My father and my mother, they took care of us. We had clothes. When we go to school, my teacher thought I was the best dressed student in the classroom. I was dressed up. I do the still, I still dress nice, you know. That's where my mama brought us up, dress nice. So I thought they were pretty good. They weren't wealthy. We had to go through a whole lot to get what we had.
Looking back on your childhood, do you have any regrets? Do you wish your parents had done anything differently?
No, I think we had a good childhood. Uh, I didn't do my children like they did us because we didn't have to do the same thing. They didn't have to do the same thing we did, so things were different.
Yeah, but you still tore us up from the floor.
You have to do what you have to do.
Describe your relationship with your mother.
My mother and I had a good relationship, but mom was mean to me. She wants you to do whatever she said, like she said, and don't waste no time. If you wait any time, you got whipped, not completely crazy. I remember this particular day, my mother getting ready to go out down to the store, so she told us she's going out the front door, told us to come and lock the front door as she go out. So my two older brothers, Robert and Junior, they didn't listen. They went in the back and started playing. My mother went down, walked where she was going to go. We had no car to drive. My dad only could drive. My mama walked and came back, and the front door was still open. So she came on in the house, and we heard the door open from the backyard. So, oh, Robert Jr., we didn't lock that front door. Mom told us to lock that front door. Somebody don't come in that house. So Junior wasn't scared. I'm going in there and check it out. He went in there and the front door was locked, because Mama locked it when she came in. And Mama had gone into her bedroom, put on a big old furry coat, black coat, and got up under the kitchen table. So Junior went to the front door was locked. He came back coming through the kitchen, and Mama, from under the table with that big old furry coat on. He got so scared, he ran, came to the back and jumped all the way off the back porch, all the way on the ground. He was scared. We said, "What's wrong with you?" Mama was scared to death. I thought that was so funny.
Now, did she whoop y'all then, or did she let that go?
I don't think we got to whip that particular day, but she let us know we got to do what she tells us to do. Yeah.
How would you say your relationship was with your father?
Me and Dad had a good relationship. I'm so much like him. He loved to sing, and that's where I get my singing from. My dad. But there was a revival in our community, and we only lived a half a block from the church where the revival was. So our mother heard about the revival, so she went down there, and she got saved. And so she told my dad, so my dad went to church the next day. And so my dad went to the house across the street from where the church was, so some of the major members lived there, and they prayed for him. They anointed his head, time he walked in the door, and prayed for him. He got saved that particular day. And he came on back home looking a little differently. But Dad got up the next morning. He used to smoke all the time, smoke cigarettes. He said, "Well, I think I'll fix me a cigarette." So he took the can, put it back in the liquor and sealed it, and he lit it to smoke it and got sick as a dog. Couldn't smoke anymore. Before he smoked and nothing happened to him. But this time he couldn't smoke. He got sick. God had filled him with the Holy Ghost, so he couldn't smoke anymore. So he took that away from him altogether. He said, "I won't do it no more." And he never smoked anymore. I was around 8 or 9 years old then. I'll never forget that. He worked us too, but he didn't work us like Mama worked us. You know. And see, Mama planted a lot of sweet potatoes, and so when they got ready, we had to build, call them thing, I forgot the name of them. You had to stack them in there, put them in there, and so when you want some sweet potatoes, you had to go out there and pull them out, take the gate off and pull them out, and go take them in the house and clean them up. But that's a lot of work.
What are some memories maybe you remember as far as you all doing things as a family? Did you take vacations or anything like that?
As a family, when we went to school, coming home from school, Mama would cook dinner every day, and she would tell us about school today after we got through eating. Anything happened that you want to tell me about, so we had to tell that. And that's what it was. And then we had to do our we couldn't go out and play till we got our homework completed. We had to do our homework in the house before we went outside to play.
Now, what was her educational level?
I don't think Mom ever finished middle school. My dad never finished high school. Neither of my parents finished high school.
So how did they check your homework?
They didn't really check it because they just know they told us to do it and we did it, so they didn't worry about it.
I'm gonna say a year, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. 1958.
In 1958, I was 13 years old in junior high school. Still picking cotton, and I hate it. All I can say is I was glad when picking cotton season was over, so I could go to school.
What was cotton picking season?
From August to around October, November.
So right about now. 1963.
1963, I was in the high school. Oh, I was nominated the president of my class in 1962. My graduating year was 1963. I was the class president. And toward the end of the year, I had a prom coming up, and the president had to escort the prom escort the bride, the senior citizen of the year, to the prom. And I told my mama that I had to go to the prom. And she told me, you ain't going to no prom. I don't believe in you going to the prom, so you ain't going. I was senior class president. So I had to tell my vice president that he had to escort the lady who was selected the senior of the year, that he had to escort her to the prom. So I asked my vice president, he said, okay, I'll do it. So he did it. I didn't go. I've never been to a prom in all my life.
You regret it?
Huh?
You regret it?
No. Well, see, we didn't believe in dancing. Well, my mom got saved when I was young. I was around 8 years old when she got saved, filled with the Holy Ghost. And we just couldn't drink, couldn't smoke, couldn't have sex before marriage, and all that things that the Bible speaks about, we couldn't do it.
Okay. I asked you a question earlier whether some things that you thought were okay or right early in life and you think are differently now. Some of the beliefs that you grew up with, some of the traditions that your mother handed down, do you think that all of those traditions were accurate? All of those rules were?
Yeah, I think they're good. I'm glad we were raised the way we were. Because if I wasn't raised the way I was raised, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Okay.
I just thank God for it. Because if it was wrong, and she gave us scriptures to read, then I wouldn't be saved probably right now. I'd be doing crazy stuff. I would have had sex before I got married. My wife was the only lady I ever had sex with after we got married. The only lady. After all these 42 years we were married, never had sex with another lady, and don't want to.
1968.
1968, I graduated from Payne College in 67. 1967 and 67, I got drafted into the Army in 68. From March 68 to 1970, I was in the Army.
Now, what did you think about that when you were drafted? Were you nervous, upset?
Nervous and scared, because I was doing the Vietnam War. And I had some classmates to go to Vietnam. I got killed in the war. They graduated me in high school. We were very close, and I didn't want to get killed. I didn't want to go in the Army. I was the only child that got drafted. My mama had three sons and one daughter. I was the only one that got drafted. And I just prayed, I said, Lord, I don't want to go in the Army. Lord, please don't let me go to Vietnam. Everything else was okay. But we only got drafted. And instead of going to Vietnam, I said I was a conscientious objector. I believe in killing people. That's another thing our faith taught us. Don't kill people. And so I couldn't kill anybody, so I didn't want to go to the army. And I was a conscientious objector. And so I just kept that up.
What would you say was your biggest, what did you get, everything you go through, they say you go through for a reason. What do you think the reason was that you were in the Army?
I think I was there because that was a time where I could go through trials and persecutions and tribulations, and God would deliver me out of them all. And He delivered me. He brought me out. I went to Fort Jackson when I was in '68 for my basic training. And when I got through basic training, I couldn't go to another level to do AS because I hadn't been cleared as a conscientious objector yet. I had to stay at Fort Jackson until around December before I got cleared to be a conscientious objector. And when I got cleared, I got orders to go to Texas to get my training as a medic. I had to be trained as a medic. So I flew to San Antonio, Texas. They put me in basic training again. I told the president that of the basic training, I said, sir, I already been through basic training. Please let me graduate and go to AIT. I'm here for AIT, Advanced Individual Training. So he put me up to the graduating class. I graduated 2 times from basic training. And so I wanted to be trained as a medic. So they put me in AIT to learn to be trained as a medic, how to make up beds and help the people who are injured and that kind of thing. So the first week we had was making up beds. They showed how to pull the cover tight and make it real sharp and neat. And I learned how to make a bed up. And the same week that I learned how to make that bed up, I got a call from the office saying I need to come in for an interview. So I left my AIT. I never finished AIT. Went there, they said, we heard you were a company clerk at Fort Jackson. We want to make you work in the S4 section here, permanent party. I said, sir, I hadn't finished AIT yet. He said, I don't care. We want to hire you as the S4 clerk because we heard you were very good. I said, okay, sir. So they took me out of AIT, never had any advanced training in AIT, and made me the S4 clerk.
And now that you went from a buck private to a specialist for?
What?
Especially, you went from a private to a specialist?
No, to well, let me tell you about the PFC. I was E2 when I was at Fort Jackson. And so I was doing the job as a S4 clerk until the one who they had trained to come in, he was already could type. He finally came in, and he could type. He could be looking around up and just typing all. Good type, tall white guy. And so when he came in, I helped him to do what he had to do, but I couldn't type like he did, so he did all the typing. And so all of a sudden, one day, he came with a PFC badge on. They had promoted him and didn't promote me. And I asked the first sergeant, how could you promote him and not promote me? He said, well, you're a holdover. I said, I don't care if I'm a holdover or a leftover. You shouldn't promote him without promoting me. I said, I want you to show me a book that says that holdovers can't be promoted. I said, so what book in here can have that in there? He said, read what you want to read. So he just walk on out. So I read, looking in the book, I didn't see nothing. Just took me very carefully. I watched the company clerk, everything, the first sergeant gave the company clerk to sign. He signed, he didn't read nothing, he just signed it. That's okay. I didn't tell anybody this. So after I got to reading those books, I wrote my own promotion up. Leroy James, PFC. First sergeant didn't read it. Gave the company a sign, he signed it. And I went, when I got it back, I took it up to the player who gave the PFC stripes out. That's about a week later. Well, a week later, when the other guy got his, I came in there with my PFC stripes on. First sergeant said, where you get that from? I said, what you mean where I got it from? I wrote it up and you gave it to the company manager to sign it. He was so mad. And when I tell sergeants this now, they couldn't believe it. I told the little boy he couldn't believe it. I had a lot of nerve in me.
You sound like you had a lot of nerve your whole life.
I did, and I still got a lot of nerve.
So let's talk about that, and I'll be almost done. Why do you think you seem to do those kinds of things that you do against the grain? Those aren't things that most people, or a lot of people, would even consider doing, but you do.
Well, I was trained to do what is right, and I got when I got saved at the age of 9, God saved me, and I had to learn how to pray, to seek God, and I taught doing that, seeking God, praying, helping Him to asking Him to help me do the things that I need to do, and He helped me. He'll let me know what to do before I did it, and I did it, and He was on my side, and He's still on my side. I'm still able to get by and do a lot of things that I wouldn't have done had I not listened to Him.
Example.
Let's see. I remember I went to Fort Jackson. And we had to start walking all over the compound. And I wasn't a good walker there. And so one day I got so much pain in my stomach from walking, I just fell out on my knees. And the company man was coming behind me. He said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Sir, I'm hurting." He said, "Get up, keep walking, it'll go away." I looked at him. So I kept walking, and guess what? It went away. That's why I walk so much now, because it keeps going away. So when you go through pain and trials and persecution and tribulation, keep faith in God. They'll go away. I just went through some stuff like I'm going through right now. This leg is hurting me. But it'll go away. Sooner or later, I'll be better.
All right. What advice? I may have already asked you that. I guess I asked you a lot of questions. Anything you want to add?
Well, I thought it was something I wanted to add, but I'm trying to think of it now. But God will fight your battle if you just trust Him and believe in Him and don't ever give up, because He will. He knows how to fight our battle.
Has there ever been a point you doubted God?
No, but I know there have been people who have doubted Him. I had to tell them. I said, "Listen, you're going through, and I know you don't think God is with you." I said, "Well, God is with you. He allows us to go through things so we can be better and stronger. And that's why He allows us to go through things so we can get better."
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Jayden wanted to show you that kite. Mm-hmm.